Hi there everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I'm really sorry that I've been AFK again. I've had things going on and time has really escaped me in the last few months. I've been travelling so much since the month of April, doing all these LARP events, and time has just become almost non-existent sometimes. I just go from place to place, country to country, region to region, just playing these games, and sometimes I forget that I haven't made a video in a while and I feel bad, but I'm here now and I'm so ready to talk to you all again about something, once again, completely different from last time. Of course, I'm doing LARP stuff again, but I would love to talk to you all about something that maybe you have never thought about before and something that maybe you've never thought that you would even experience. Today, I would really like to talk to you about something maybe a bit more serious in the LARP community, and that is character death. Now, if you have never experienced character death, you're probably a bit confused as to what I mean, so let me explain a little. Character death is when a character in character passes away. Now, that doesn't mean that an actual player dies, it means that the character that they play dies somehow, and to me, I had a pretty extreme experience with it very recently, and that's what I want to talk about. The experience I had was when my friend Tom's character died at Neothera Saga, the last game that just happened. So please let me talk to you about that and explain to you my experience. Again, this is another video that I want to use to explain to people who maybe can't LARP or are too afraid to, things in the LARP community that you didn't get to experience and are maybe a bit confused about, and character death is something that can confuse a lot of people. Now, character death can occur in a lot of different ways. As many of you know, I do Empire LARP and I have seen people murdered. I have seen characters take someone else's life in the middle of the street. I've seen people fall in battle. I have been involved in funerals. I have seen people dying under the knife of doctors and physics. I've seen magicians malfunction and injure people and make them terminal in LARP, and it is such a strangely terrifying thing to witness, and let me explain why. When you start LARPing, you start finding yourself really immersed in the world. You almost can't believe the things you're experiencing, and after half an hour, it's like it really exists, and you feel like that world is so real. The characters that you play become almost like another version of yourself. They almost become like your kids in a way. You don't want to see your kids get hurt, even if your kids are fantasy characters that you play. See, the thing is, when character death actually happens, your mind sort of reels. I can't really explain it. It's almost like you're seeing someone real pass away, even though the blood looks fake and they have no injuries on their body. One of the first times I actually even experienced character death was at Empire. Empire is honestly quite a bloody LARP, and lots of people die very commonly, although not very much so in the streets, more so in battle, but you expect that to happen. People go down on their face, their count runs out, and that's it, they've passed away. They're dragged from the battlefield and taken back to their nation, where the nation will do their ritual of funeral, and that's just how it goes. You know, it's a lot easier to take character death in a larger system, especially somewhere like Empire where people are expected to die in mass numbers, nearly all the time. But unlike Empire, probably one of the hardest hitting character deaths I witnessed was at Neothera, and I'm going to explain that to you today. I've done a video talking about Neothera Saga before, which you should totally watch first before watching this one so it makes more sense. But basically, Neothera is a very small system in regards to something like Empire. It doesn't have that many players, so you get to know everyone quite intimately because, well, you don't really have a choice. Everyone's in one place, in one field, and you just get so intimately connected with everyone extremely quickly, more so than something like Empire. You learn people's stories, you learn what they're about, you learn their passions, and you come to love these characters that you've met. Now, I've mentioned before that I play a character at Neothera Saga who maybe isn't the best at computing emotions. My character Adelaida at Neothera Saga is a bit all over the place. She doesn't really know what's going on or who anyone is, but she has a good time. But contrary to popular belief, Adelaida really can compute emotions, maybe a lot deeper than the regular person. She feels deep sadness, she feels joy, she feels anything like anyone else would, but maybe on a more deep level that a lot of people wouldn't understand. At the start of the last Neothera, I was approached by referees basically giving me a bit more plot. The thing with Neothera Saga is that you are told plot basically before you walk into the game, so your thoughts and feelings are fresh and you couldn't have told and spoiled it for anyone else. I was given a charm by a referee who plays an NPC called King Olaf. He gave me a bracelet that had some sort of symbolic meaning to the story, and when I walked into game, I found another player had it as well. Now, the other character that had it was a character called Borodos, played by my friend Tom. Now, Adelaida and Borodos had never really interacted before. They didn't really have any reason to. They weren't particularly friends, they didn't really even know each other, so him suddenly having the exact same bracelet as Adelaida, I don't know, made me think. I pretty quickly came to the conclusion that, given that Adelaida had run off at the end of the game before that to be with the king, that Borodos must have also come from that kingdom, and that maybe they were connected somehow in a way I didn't quite yet understand. Although, through playing the game and being around Borodos, I came to understand that he was some sort of bodyguard for Adelaida, placed there by the king. Anytime I went down in battle, Borodos was up, and he was basically tackling me back into the barn that's at the side to protect Adelaida. He would get in front of her. When she was confronted, he would step out. He would throw spells at people. He would heal her first. He even carried me, OC, when I was struggling to walk. This player that I had basically never spoken to before, we suddenly began spending every single moment together. And it didn't feel weird. When you're in things in character, things don't really feel weird when you start doing them. We just knew that we both had a bracelet from the king, and that meant we were connected, and all of a sudden, we just became best friends. And when I mean that we did everything together, we did everything. When we were resting in character, we would sit on the couch and Adelaida would lie on him and go for a nap. We would walk to encounters together, they would heal each other, they would go on walks, they would investigate together, and this was so interesting for me given that I had basically never talked to this player before. And from there, obviously, having a player that their goal and their job was to protect my character, I was very connected to them very quickly, and I got maybe a bit too attached a bit too quickly. Now, if you know Neothera Saga, you'll know that it's a bit more of a chaotic game in the way that there are always encounters, there's always attacks on your camp. It's a lot to take on, but everyone is usually very ready, except from on the last day, because that's when you know things are really gonna get real. On the Sunday, there was a huge battle that happened, and I, even out of character, was struggling so much with this battle. It was so much, and it was a big part of the story, and I remember that I was looking for Borodos and I couldn't find him or see him. I shouted to one of the other doctors, "Where is Borodos?" because Adelaida was injured and needed help, and the doctor, without a care in the world, turned to Adelaida and said, "He's dead." And, for me, I don't know. That was a very shocking moment. I don't really know how to articulate it correctly. I remember just shouting, "What?" at the top of my lungs, and there he was in the barn, face down. The character was dead, and immediately Adelaida fell to her knees in the middle of this huge encounter. This could have gotten her killed as well, but in the middle of this huge encounter, fell to her knees before Borodos and just broke into tears. She just burst straight into tears and started sobbing next to him, begging him to come back during this encounter. And that was strange, honestly. It was a very intimate scene, given that everyone else was busy being hurt in this scene. Their characters, they were busy fighting, they were busy dying, they were busy healing, they were busy saving others. And just in the barn, in the middle of all this screaming and shouting, was me in character, sobbing over the dead body of my friend Tom, who was very much so still alive. Like, I knew Tom wasn't injured, I knew Tom wasn't hurt, I knew Tom was okay, but there was... I don't know how to explain it. It was like my friend in character had died. He did, my friend in character did die, but I mean, like, Adelaida didn't have many actual friends. She's been a bit gently ostracised ever since she ran away with the king, and which is good because it brings up a lot of in-character drama, which I love. But for Adelaida as a person, it's hard for her because she doesn't have that many friends, and the king's an NPC. The king can't always be around to be Adelaida's friend, so the fact that the only friend that Adelaida had made in years had passed away the same weekend that they had properly met was pretty difficult. I also chose to break into tears really loud because during the downtime between games, Adelaida and Bordos had meant to be interacting in ゚READ, which is the region where the king comes from. So I had to make it look like they were really good friends, they'd been friends for months, that they had always known each other, but in reality, I had only known this guy about 3 days. And it wasn't until after the battle I was able to really let it out, both OC and IC. If you've ever met me at a Larp, you'll be aware that I'm quite a highly emotional person, and so are my characters, and Adelaida and me just broke into tears again. And there I was, on the ground, in the barn, cradling my new friend after their character had died, and I don't know. It was a strange experience, if anything. And honestly, even now, I really miss that character, and it's so strange because my friend Tom is okay. We have become really good friends ever since, and they are okay. They're fine, but when I was pre-editing a section of this video of an in-character goodbye to Bordos, his character, I started crying again. And it's so funny how these characters and how Larp gets inside your head to such an extent that you could never think was even possible. The fact that I had to spend time in mourning over a character that was never real when I was seeing that real friend nearly every weekend since. It's a bit strange, isn't it? I will genuinely never forget the connection that Adelaida and Bordos had, because it was a very fleeting but very beautiful friendship they had, and it was a very good dynamic. The fact that they were secretly running around as him being her bodyguard, and it was a secret by the king, and people were trying to suss it out, and why did they have the similar bracelets, which looks like this, by the way. I still wear it. It was a fun mystery, and it was so heartbreaking to see Adelaida's basically only friend and a weekend event that was so difficult for her to pass away and leave her all alone again. And the funeral was no better. The funeral was just as sad. I wasn't the only one who was crying. Just seeing a character die is never fun. And it's that feeling, that anxiety you get in your chest when you walk into a battle or you walk into an encounter as your character, and that's always in the back of your mind of, what if my character dies? You know you're not going to get injured. You know that you're not going to get hurt, but the anxiety that you feel is so enormous that some people won't even go into battle because they love their character's life so much. And I do have that with Adelaida, but I still take her into battle and I feel the worst every time I do it. Every time she goes in her face, I feel genuine fear for a character that I'm playing that doesn't exist. Character death is strange and I'll never really understand it. But I guess things like this, you always need different perspectives to try and understand what's happening, so maybe we should ask someone else. So talking of different perspective, I'm here with
Jake.
And they are a ref at Neothera Saga. So I just want to begin by saying I've spoken about you before in a different video I've done, haven't I?
Yeah.
I've spoken about an NPC you play, and that is?
It's King Olafson.
Yes. Yeah. I'm very fond of King Olaf. I've spoken about them before. To begin with, would you like to talk about all you can about King Olaf's connection to Adelaida and Borodos when Borodos was still alive?
So King Olafson and Borodos first met in April this year, and they kind of just hit it off pretty quickly. I mean, they became very good friends, kind of travelled around the event site, fought together, and just got really close. And they kind of continued that over the 3 events we had this year. And Adelaida first met Olafson in June or July, I don't remember which one, the second event of this year. And she was like, from my perspective, she was very fond of him straight away. Was always on his heels, constantly following me about. And yeah, like, because I remember you gave him a sticker or a plaster, wasn't it? It was a little heart and you stuck on my forehead.
Romantic.
Very romantic. The most romantic way you can tell someone but not tell someone that you like them.
Advice there.
But yeah, kind of our characters just kind of got talking again, didn't they? Very similar to Borodos, got friendly. And I think you spoke to me in downtime and you were like, look, I want to try and get a relationship going with this NPC. Is that something we can do? And we were like, yeah, why not?
Okay, so what's it like for you as a ref, but also someone who has NPC and world connections to other characters, to watch a character that you have interacted with and a player that you know their character die? What's it like from the perspective of a ref?
It's weird. It's really weird. Because like you said, you roleplay with these people 3 times a year for 3 days, and then their character just disappears and they're not coming back. I mean, we never plan character deaths. It's not something we plan, and I don't think people should plan it unless it's a player planning it. So if you're planning your own character death, then fine. But us as refs, we will never plan a character death. It all happens organically. So it's really weird. Like it's never something we'll say character death shouldn't happen, because it should. It's just a part of Larp, and I think you know that. But it's still really surreal to see someone who has put so much time and effort into their character and, you know, evolved their character so much. I mean, when Tom Borodos first started, we were his first system, and I think he'll be the first to tell you like how much his character has just evolved and his costume has got better and better. And to see that kind of be taken away from him is quite sad.
Yeah.
Really, because I think he had quite a connection to Borodos as well.
And on from that as well, how did you feel watching what happened when Borodos died, when my character Adelaida was having her little meltdown? How did that feel as a ref to watch that type of roleplay happen? Unexpectedly as well.
Yeah, it was really good. I think me and Tommy, the other ref, we both kind of like looked at each other multiple times. We were like, wow, because it was really emotional. Like everyone got around. Yeah, it was really emotional. Even though we were, you know, stood back and just watching as spectators, it was still very. It was weird, but it was good. But it was like a stunned silence over everyone.
Do you have any advice for people who are going to have a character death? Anything you can any advice to give them to help them get through, or maybe to role play it better, or maybe how not to cheat it? Do you have any advice as a ref?
I would always say embrace character death. It's just something that comes with LARP. I mean, I think I've been LARPing 8 years now in March, and I think I've had 3 character deaths of mine. But each one you've just got to embrace. You really do, because you kind of, with this hobby, you run the risk of creating a character that you love so much that they will die. It's just part of the game. But if you're one of those people that are out there that's, you know, flunking your counts to keep your character alive, then there's just no point. Like, character death is just a part of LARP. But yeah, like, it just really kind of allows another aspect of roleplay. It really does. And I think you found this out last event.
Yeah.
You can play this character who's very, I guess, kind of reserved, but when something like this happened, you can just let loose. It really is. It's good.
Mm-hmm. And for those who don't know, you said briefly about flunking your count. Would you like to explain to people who don't know what a count is in LARP?
Yeah, so I mean, so the way I found out about Borodos's death was, so at Neothera we often go around to players who are on the floor and just check kind of what their death count is on. So we have 2 stages of counts. So we have 3 minutes for critical. So as soon as you hit 0 hit points, you go to critical for 3 minutes. And then after those 3 minutes, you essentially enter kind of like a coma style state called moribund. After the 3 minutes of moribund, you die. So we were just going around checking what people were on. We went up to a few people, and they were telling us like how far in they were. And I got to Borodos, and he just went dead. I was like, great, he's dead. But yeah, so some people, I guess, to kind of preserve their character because they almost feel a bit attached to it, they'll maybe lie there and, you know, not count fully.
Maybe add another 10 seconds.
Yeah, just to kind of buy themselves a little bit of time, which we always try and discourage because it's technically cheating.
Yeah.
And we're all there to have good fun. You guys are there to have good fun. We don't want people to come in and cheat at the games.
Yeah.
And that's the same with every LARP system, and every LARP system ref will tell you the same thing. Just take your counts and take your hits. Everyone's just trying to enjoy themselves.
So
embrace death.
Yeah, embrace your character death.
Do it.
Even though the thought is petrifying.
It is terrifying. Do it.
Have you ever experienced character death of a character that you really liked playing?
Probably my very first NPC we had at I had at Neothera was a character called Bastion. Bastion kind of had this story arc of where he started off really good and he was nice to everyone, and throughout the years he kind of just, his mind started to, I guess, be twisted and a bit corrupted, to the point of where he became, I guess, for a whole year the main bad guy of the story. And I kind of got to the stage of Bastion, and Tommy kind of agreed, and we decided that his time was kind of up, so we made the decision to kill him off, which is what we do with a lot of NPCs. I mean, NPCs are there to further a storyline, so if they have to die, they have to die, which is why we kind of don't really get attached to NPCs as much as player characters. But Bastion was a bit different because he was my first NPC, so even though I wanted him to eventually, you know, die, it was still very hard to, I guess, let go.
Yeah.
A little bit. But we had this big, like, emotional scene of someone smashing his head in. But it was tough. But I think that's just because I'd grown a bit attached to him because it was my first NPC. But
And do you care now that character was killed off, or?
Not really. No.
Are you over it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%. Like he got to a stage in the story where if he stayed alive, it wouldn't have made sense, and it wouldn't have been very good.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay. So this was Jake from Neothera Saga, who's a red. Thank you very much for talking to me.
You're welcome.
That's all I need, so you can go now. Yeah, go. Bye. I don't need you. Go. Oh, fuck!
He's done too much! He deserves to live more than me.
Okay, so that was my video about character death and a really sad experience I had at Neothera Saga. So I really hope you all enjoyed it and that you had a good time listening. I want to remind you all that on Patreon now I have a brand new mail tier where you can get a lot of fun stuff in the mail and just experience a more intimate experience with me, given that I just send you letters and stuff. It's worth a try and my Patreon is linked below. I also have a brand new Etsy store which I'll also link below, that if you're not interested in being a patron, you might enjoy some of the rewards there. So on from that. My baby bats, thank you so much for listening to another LARP video. I really hope you enjoyed it. Good day.